All right. Well, it looks like we've got a decent amount of participants in here. We'll go get started to be mindful of everybody's time. I'd like to welcome you to this webinar. My name is Andres Palasi. I manage our third-party products for the Control and Entertainment Business Group here at SnapAV. Great to have you all with us. Appreciate you taking time out of a busy day to join us on this webinar to introduce FX Luminaire to you. Very excited to have the product line as part of the Snap family. And by Snap family, I mean both at our regional distribution as well as on e-commerce. It's an incredible product line, incredible product. I've installed it myself, very excited about it, very cool stuff. And as far as the partnership, it's relatively new, but it is a burgeoning opportunity. I know the FX team is very excited to work with us and work with you all, presents a lot of opportunity for all of us. So today we have with us from the FX team, Kyle Trotter, who's the National Business Development Manager, Ryan Williams, Director of Marketing, and James Cervantes, a Product Manager. And primarily, Ryan and James will be leading the presentation. But before we get into that, I'd like to turn it over to Kyle for a minute.
Thanks, Andres. I just want to reiterate to everyone, we appreciate the new partnership with SnapAV, and we look forward to supporting you and your teams. I really feel you guys are in a really good position in this ever-growing lighting market. I've been in the industry 25 years, and the last 5 years, this market has matured more in 5 years than it has in 25. And what we're seeing is the market has gone from landscapers installing path lights to homeowners asking for the same home automation outside as they have inside. So I feel you guys are in a really good position because you're ahead of the curve versus the normal landscaper who installs lighting. So we're super excited to work with you guys. This is a good channel for us, and I think we have the right products to support you. Matter of fact, I know we do. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Williams, and he's going to introduce you to FX. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle, and good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here today. My name is Ryan. I'm here to kind of introduce not only FX the brand, but also the fixtures. And then we'll let James jump into the control side of things. So just a quick background on who we are and what we are. FX has been around for over 30 years. So celebrating 3 decades really started about 2 years ago. So we're now, you can probably change this to 30 years of doing business. So we know what we're doing. We've been doing this for a long time, and we've been doing control specifically for a very long time as well. So our conversation today is really going to focus on 2 categories: the control side, and the integration associated with that, as well as the luminaires or the actual light fixtures themselves. I'm going to focus on the luminaire side, and we're really going to talk about the concept of outdoor living. Kyle alluded to it as well, and especially in times of COVID, as most of you I'm sure are very much aware of, homeowners are actively putting money and investing into their home properties because now we're all working from home. So, and in doing that, we've seen a significant increase in not only the desire for lighting, but the desire for lighting controls, whether that is just cloud-based and network connectivity, whether it's color changing or just standard on-off types of options. Those color options, we talk about color changing fixtures, is really what gets the wow factor for homeowners. And that's when the fun really begins. So let's jump into the categories. So when we talk about the various categories, we're talking the categories are really very simply named: up lights, path lights, wall lights, in grades, all general categories designed to show you where the fixtures are actually installed. Uplights are the most popular category, and you will find roughly around 50 to 60% of your fixtures are going to fall within this category. The second category is going to be path lights themselves. We have 2 very popular fixtures that you'll find on the SnapAV e-commerce site. They're called the NP, that's this bullet shaped one right here, as well as the PB. This is the wall wash shaped version. When most people think of their uplights, they think of the classic uplight or NP right here. Beam angles range between 20 and 60 degrees, so you're going to be fairly tight in spread. This is for things that are fairly tall and going up. Whenever you want to wash walls, or if you want have a tree with a very wide canopy, in those cases, you're going to want the light to be very spread out. We call that a wider beam angle. And in doing that, the PB is going to be your go-to option for that. Now, when we talk about uplights, you cannot ignore the concept of path lights, because this is the second most popular category. Now, when most people think of path lights, they think of these little some called mushroom-shaped fixtures with the hat and on top of a riser. Now, that is a very common reason to use path lights, and as you can see, they're most commonly used along paths, but do not have to be. We've got a whole lighting design training video program on what to do with path lights and where they go. So I definitely recommend, and that's a little shout out for that option right there. But really, path lights come in 3 different categories. We typically call that an area light category. This is a 360-degree coverage. We also have what's called a directional path light, where we're trying to push light in a specific direction. We don't want the 360-degree light. We actually don't want any what we would call light trespass in the back. We want it all forced to the front. So anytime that you want light in a specific direction along a path, a directional path light is a good solid way to do that, as well as this one has a great little modern design to go with it. The third option is called a marker light for path lights. Marker light is where we violate the common rule of lighting in the outdoors, which is you want to see the effect of the light, not the source of the light. Now, marker lights violate that, and so in doing so, what they do is we take the intensity and we wash it down incredibly, so that it's actually easy on the eyes to actually see the source of the light, but yet effective in terms of getting the coverage from a 360-degree coverage on the ground. So uplights and path lights in general make up around 70 to 75% of the lights that you're going to see on a property. Now, wall lights, this is when you get into hardscape. We see this very common around barbecue outdoor kitchen areas, as well as seat walls and stairs. These can be as easy or as difficult to install as you want. There's definitely a lot of retrofit options for you if the walls are already installed. Most oftentimes, it's a little bit easier to install these things when you are building the wall at the same time. So just keep in mind that there are options in a variety of use cases, depending on what resources you have available to you, as well as what the homeowner has in mind for the outdoor project itself. Downlights from a lighting standpoint is probably the least used category, but I would argue the most important category, because this is where lighting becomes very natural. We're used to natural sunlight during the days. Nighttime, you have these uplights and path lights, which don't always feel very natural, but downlighting becomes natural because it mimics that of moonlighting. And so you don't have a lot of lights in your face. You don't have things in the ground. They're tucked up high, whether they're a directional based downlight, where this is tucked in a corner or so and shining outward, or other options where lights are maybe just hanging naturally from a pendant kind of concept. But I would definitely recommend throwing in a downlight configuration. These are 2 of the more popular ones, a pendant configuration or a fixed mount position as well. Both are very common in pavilions, trellises, and with these pendants, more commonly actually in trees, because you can create a nice little shadowy effect around those above tree branches and leaves and other things. Now, from an in-grade perspective, in-grades are technically uplights. They're just installed in the ground. This is when you want to keep fixtures away from the maintenance crews for landscaping. You want to keep them away from 4-year-old kids who are trying to kick things around. This is when you just have a lot of high traffic areas in general. You want to keep the fixtures out of the way. And in-grades are a great way to do that, not only to keep them out of the way from a physical contact standpoint, but it also pushes the light source further into the ground, which again hides that glare and makes it a much more comfortable place around the properties. So in-grades are a very common way to up the classiness of the outdoor living space, for sure. Now, when we talk about our fixtures, we talk about a handful of key things we want to remember. We're talking about the quality of the light source itself. We're talking about the quality of the materials, and we're talking about the quality of the installation experience in general. Okay, and so we're going to talk about a handful of those things right now before we jump into controls. So number one, quality of the light source. So all the fixtures, obviously we're talking about LEDs. We actually gave up on the halogen incandescents a while back. So all we have are LEDs, and they're actually built from a lifetime standpoint up to 55,000 hours. And so so these are LEDs that are designed to last. They are made by Cree. And in most fixtures, I won't say every, but in most of them, we have this layout that you can see here in front of you, where we have reflectors that are designed to take those LEDs, the light of the LEDs, and push it forward. And then we actually have in the box, we have 4 different color temperature lenses for you to choose from. The most common is an amber lens. It'll get you a color temperature about 2700 K. But inside the box, we have a clear one, really, that'll get you about 4000 K, a blue one that'll get you 5000 K, and a landscape green version that will be a little bit more effective for the greens around the property itself. So in addition to the color filter we also have a beam angle lens as well. These are not in the box, but they are sold separately. And in doing so, they can allow you to change that beam angle from something that's super narrow for palm trees, pillars, or things that are just super tall, up to about 60 degrees for any wider canopies or other things that you're trying to light. Now remember, if you want to get wider, we always recommend going to that PB or that wall wash style fixture. So let's see here. There we go. I think I doubled it up there. So I ran through a quick design concept that really needs a little bit of help in terms of elaboration. Okay, so we do have on our website, we have lots of landscape design videos, which is an entire series on lighting things, everything from pavilions and arbors to perimeters, fire features, kitchens, hardscape, specialties, everything you can think of learning what to design or how to do it or where to put the fixtures. This lighting training videos will help you significantly in doing that. Now, here's just a quick layout in terms of what it's talking about. So with the different color temperatures with your filters, we have more of a blue, an amber, a clear, and a green. Blue is very common for downlighting because it mimics that of moonlighting. I mentioned that the amber is pre-installed, therefore, because it's the most common, and this is generally what people are looking for. When you're lighting things on hardscape, it's generally common to use something a little bit more cool. So that's where that 4000 K option comes in. And then for the landscape, we do have the greens. From an intensity standpoint, we do have fixed intensities that you can play with, but more commonly we have the Luxor controller that's going to do all that for you. So you don't need to really know ahead of time what intensities you need to have. You could just have the pure flexibility of changing them on the spot. Not only for your preference or the homeowner's preference, but also for as landscape grows, you generally need a little bit more light. Also, as the seasons change, you obviously need less light when there are no leaves on the trees and more light when there are leaves on the trees. So just keep in mind that the pure flexibility of not only the fixtures comes from the fixtures, but it also comes from the controls aspect as well. So just quick questions because we're talking about it. Brent asked, does the light intensity affect the lifespan of the LED? James is going to talk about how we dim the LEDs, but we actually use something called PWM or pulse width modulation to change the intensity of the LEDs, which actually means we're actually allowing the fixture life or the LED life to last longer. We're not making the components work harder. So common dimming is like, let's say, phase dimming. And in that case, you're adjusting the voltage that's coming to the fixture. And that commonly will make many of the components work harder as you get into lower voltages. But because we're not changing the voltage and the voltage stays intact, the intensity, the lifetime of the LED actually lasts longer. That's your fun fact for the day. Quick diagram on beam angles. I don't need to bore you with this. I think that already makes sense. And so with that, I'm going to pass it on over to James, because I think this is what most people are looking for, but it is important to get a general understanding of the fixtures that we have and what you do with them, so that as we talk about controls, we have a better picture of the whole family. So with that, James, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Perfect. You can hear me?
Just fine.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks, Ryan. So like Ryan mentioned at the beginning, so we do fixtures and we do controls, and it's really the controls that set us apart from other lighting manufacturers. We have the capability to communicate to fixtures on a single wire path. So not only are we sending voltage, but we're sending communication. And those different communications are those different technologies that we're talking about. We're talking about zoning, we're talking about dimming or intensity, and we're talking about color. Typically, we refer to this as ZDC. The cool thing about this is that we have the flexibility to give customers different options. So if they just want zoning in a specific fixture, then they can get that. If they want zoning and dimming in a specific fixture, they can get that as well. And if they want all three, they can have zoning, dimming, as well as color in that fixture. So not everything has to be color, not everything has to be dimmed down. If someone just wants a particular fixture to be zoned and turn on and off, then we give that flexibility. The other portion is probably the most important one, and I'm trying to click through these slides here. There we go. Is the fact that we can do this on a single wire path. So it's a daisy chain wiring method. Other manufacturers, you need to do special wiring if you want to shut off a specific zone. If you want to do dimming, typically you're going to have a secondary accessory. Everything on Luxor is done using the 2-wire path. So once again, I'm sending voltage as well as communication. So as you can see here on this specific run, I can name each fixture, or I can assign it a different group. So I can have group 1, I can have group 2, 3, and 4 all on that same wire path. And I can have them doing different things depending on how I want my control system set up. So the base concept here, make sure that it goes through. Ryan, can you go ahead and click through the slides for me? There's quite a delay.
You bet.
All right, perfect. All right, so the base type of technology that we talk about zoning. So this concept of zoning, it actually comes from the irrigation side. So FX is owned by Hunter Industries. It's an irrigation company. And one of the main reasons we bought it is because we were able to put our decoder technology into our LED board. So each one of these fixtures has its own decoder, which means it can be assigned to specific groups or specific zones. So that group or that zone can be either one fixture, it could be 3 fixtures, it could be 10 fixtures. It's all based off of the type of flexibility that you want in that system. So following zoning would be your zoning and dimming. So zoning and dimming, basically what you're doing with zoning, you're creating different areas throughout your landscape. And with the dimming, you're creating more of an artistic effect. So kind of like Ryan was saying, when it's winter, you may not have a lot of leaves on your tree, so you're not going to have that intensity as high. If you have young vegetation, young trees that you know that they're going to grow in the future, you just make sure that you buy that fixture that once it is all the way mature, you're going to be able to get that intensity all the way up. Initially, when it's young, then you keep that intensity down, and as it grows, you continue to bring it up. The other reason why you would use dimming is because you can create different types of scenes throughout the night. So if you don't need everything on at 100%, you can dim down these different fixtures all within the same wire path. With zoning, if you don't want it on at all, then you're just going to shut that off, and you'll have your intensities go from 0 to 100%. And then color. So color is the cool thing. A lot of other manufacturers have color. A lot of our competitors have color. One thing that sets us apart is that we use the RGBW technology. So we have that red, we have that green, we have that blue, and we have that white LED. What that allows us to do is it gives us a lot of flexibility. It allows us to have those vibrant colors for sports themes, holiday themes, celebrations, birthdays, whatever it might be. But what's the most important to us is that white LED. It allows us to add saturation, remove saturation. That way we can use it to create more pastel types of colors. So we can bring out that landscape. We can make it a little bit more vibrant when it comes to hardscape. We can bring out those natural colors. So with Luxor, you get 30,000 different options. As you can see here, you can go off of the color picker. And once you select your colors, you're going to have up to 250 custom colors in your color palette. They're dynamic, so obviously they can change to whatever you want them to be. But once you have your 250 set, those are available for any of your fixtures, any of your groups, and any of your zones. So not only can you zone that fixture, dim it, now you have the capability to provide it color. Once you have all of those different attributes, this is something that's pretty straightforward to you guys. We mention them, or we commonly refer to them as themes. These are basically scenes. What you're doing is you're adding those different groups, you're adding different attributes, the intensity, the colors that are associated with them, so you can create a scene throughout the night. Or you can create a scene in order to produce a celebration. Every single group that is on your system will be going into your themes. It can, one night it can be green, the next night it can be red. Typically you're going to have your every night theme, which is kind of an example here up in the right hand corner. You're going to get your warm white, or you're going to get your cool white, or whatever light that you like. And that's going to be your theme that you're going to run every single night outside of your special celebrations. You can also do color matching. So you can see down on the bottom, color matching is kind of what I was talking about when you're adding that saturation. Using that white LED, you're going to be able to bring out those natural hues of the landscape, and it's really going to set a homeowner's home apart from their neighbors. Okay, Ryan? And once you have these themes, it's very similar to what you do in the inside. We're going to create programs. We use event-based programming and calendar-based programming. So you're going to create your events throughout the night. So here on at sunset, I'm going to want my every night theme. I want all of my groups at 100%. Come 9 p.m., I'm going to have my security theme. I don't need everything on at 100%. Sometimes I don't need any of the lights on, so I'm going to dim them down and create different intensities to kind of give it more of a security look. And then once it hits midnight, then obviously I don't need everything on, but I still want some light for that security aspect, so I can dim that down once again. So those are the different events that you're going to be able to create throughout the different programs. With the themes, since you're able to create different holidays, different celebrations, what I can do is I can go into that controller and I can say, okay, for 4th of July, I want my 4th of July theme to run from July 1st through July 4th. Outside of that, I want it to go back to my original program. So once you have that calendar-based set in there, you don't have to go back to the controller in order to change it. So all of the screens that I've been showing on these different slides are screens from the app. So obviously we have wireless control. So everything that we were showing on the app, you can do from the FacePack controller. But typically most people are going to be using the app for system setup. Two different wireless control options. You have a Wi-Fi module, which is shown here in the middle. That will plug into the back of the control panel using a RJ45 cable, or which most of you will probably be using is the LAN connection. So the LAN connection is also available in the back of the FacePack. You'll take that and directly hook it up to your network in order for you to be able to get it integrated with your home automation system. A lot of times with these Luxor jobs, they require more than 300 watts. So each Luxor controller is not just a controller that's telling fixtures to zone, dim, and color. They're actually the ones providing the voltage. So it is just a landscape lighting transformer with brains. And a lot of times, just based off of the design, based off of the number of fixtures that you have on a specific controller, you're going to need more than 300 watts. So the easiest way to expand a system is this concept that we call Luxor linking. So you'll have your main Luxor, which is the Luxor with the face pack, and then you'll have satellite controllers. And what satellite controllers are just Luxors without a face pack. And basically dummy wattage. So now I can expand my system from 300 watts up to 600, up to 900, up to 1200. I can get all the way up to 9 satellites per Luxor system. And the reason this is important is because you may have additional Luxors on the site, but you're still having that single point of control on the overall system. So these are just daisy chained using Cat5, Cat6 cable. And all of the satellites will just take communication from that main or master controller. So when we first came out with Luxor, obviously Luxor is very specific to FX fixtures. But then we realized that there are designers, there are contractors, there are installers that prefer to use other manufacturers' fixtures for specific applications, but they still want to use Luxor and FX fixtures throughout the rest of the property. So we came out with these Luxor accessories. These specific ones are called Luxor Cube. So each one of these different cubes have different capabilities. Each of them still have that decoder chip in them, so I can give them a specific group and I can run them off of the system based off of my design. I'll start with the one on the right-hand side. So that is a low voltage cube. And what this low voltage cube is it allows you to zone and dim other low voltage fixtures that are not designer series FX fixtures. So I give this cube a group and install it in front of the fixtures that I want to control. Now I have that capability to zone them and dim them. The cube in the middle is our high voltage or line voltage cube. This allows us to control line voltage fixtures, most commonly bistro lights, carriage lights, basically anything that is powered by 120 can now be zoned and grouped using a low voltage transformer. So basically you have 15 volts now controlling 120 volt applications. And the most flexible and dynamic group or cube that I guess you could say is the relay cube. So that's the one over here on the left-hand side. And it's this cube that really turns Luxor into an outdoor element control system. So this relay cube allows you to control fire pits, water features, ceiling fans, basically anything that you can find in an outdoor living space. This cube is allowing you to control that using the Luxor system. So that's going to give you the most flexibility. That is going to really allow you to bring that whole outdoor living system into one central control system using the Luxor. And the integration part. So I'm not sure if Andy's going to talk a little bit more on this, but when we talk about integration, Luxor is able to integrate with Lutron, obviously Control 4, Crestron, Savant, and Elan. On the Control 4 portion, we allow you to integrate using the SDDP. We are activating groups and we're activating themes. So the most important part to understand here is that all of the front end work on the Luxor side, the groups, the colors, the themes, they all need to be created at the Luxor controller or the Luxor system. And once you integrate it with Control 4, you're able to recall all of that information and control it on the Control 4 side. So a real quick look as far as what it would look like on the Composer software side. So what you have here on the left-hand side, once you install that driver, it's going to pull all that information as far as the groups and the controllers are concerned. Once that information's in there, then you're going to be able to do your programming and whatever type of design you want to do as far as pulling information from the Luxor controller and the groups and the colors. And just a real quick look at what you would do on the Lutron side. So Lutron, Radio Raw 2, Homeworks, and soon to be Homeworks QSX. This is a little bit more, I guess, manual work on the Lutron side. You will provide an ID to the different devices that you have from Lutron, and each one of those IDs are going to be associated with a Luxor group or a Luxor theme that's installed into the Luxor face pack. So typically ID 500, whatever device you have that on the Lutron side, that is going to recall all of the groups that are in Luxor. ID 501 is going to recall group 1. If you want to recall themes, then you're going to have them start in the ID 1000. So not only can you have switches, you can have, I guess, dummy switches that will just be controlled from your app, as well as keypads to give it a little bit more of a manual type of operation if you want to control your indoor lights and your outdoor lights at the same time. So that's a brief overview on the Luxor controller, not too technical. But if you do have any questions, then we can definitely answer them.
That's awesome, James and Eric. Sorry, Ryan. Thanks a lot for all that information. It's great. I know we've been getting questions pretty fast in the Q&A. I'm not sure if everyone's been looking at them, so I'd like to just review them a little bit one at a time. I think some of them have been excellent questions. And then Ryan and James, if there's anything you want to add into that live, that'd be great. Again, Ryan has answered most of them already in the Q&A section, but they're so good that I think it's valuable to expand that to the entire group that's on here. So one of the first ones we answered live, or Ryan answered live, so we can skip over that one. Existing 2-wire cable in the ground, can it be reused for an FX system? And for that, yes, you can you reuse existing 12-2 wire. The only thing I would ask to that, what about other wire? Because I've seen me personally, I've seen other landscape wire, like 14-2, different gauges. Do we have to use 12-2?
No, you don't. I mean, the beauty of the whole system is we use standard off-the-shelf components for all kinds of things, whether it's connecting the satellites, like we'll talk about later, or just standard wires. So whether you're using 12-2, 10-2, 8-2, 14-2, it doesn't really matter. The whole purpose behind that is really voltage drop. What do I need to get the max amount of voltage or the correct amount of voltage to each of the fixtures? And then you make those decisions you make the wiring decisions based on that concept.
Yeah, awesome. Great. The next question is there a max length for control? And the answer that we put in there is that you're only limited by the standard voltage drop, right? So that goes with the wiring as well, that, depending on the gauge, the thicker the gauge, the less drop you're going to have over distance. So do you guys, a good question, on your website, do you guys have any type of calculator that can help out integrators scoping or speccing a job?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer. Yeah, we do have a dynamic Excel spreadsheet in there. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to say, hey, I'm using 300 watt transformer, this specific length of 10-2, 12-2 wire. And then it also allows you to select the different type of LED that you're using so that you get that specific VA or that specific wattage consumption. So it will give you what that voltage will be at each specific fixture based off of the length of your run. So, I mean, we have all the bells and whistles that go with Luxor, but in the end, it still goes back to those landscape lighting principles of voltage drop, wire gauge, and those types of principles. Are there any great, good rules of thumb? Let's say if the property is, I'm just throwing a number out there, like 25,000 square feet, the entire property, right? Like you would need one transformer, or 10,000 square feet, use one. Once you jump up to 15, you want to use a second one. So anything general like that might be helpful in system design. Yeah, Kyle always has a good rule of thumb. Kyle, do you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, well, this takes me back to my halogen days, which dates me a little bit. But I always used to say 100 watts going 100 feet, you have a 3-volt drop, right? So then you just do the math forward or backward. That's on 12-2 wire, which most people use, probably 90% of the people. So you can do the math. So if you're going 300 feet, you can really only have 30 watts going that way. So just rule of thumb, 100 watts, 100 feet, 3-volt drop.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So
Do the math
generally
forward or
speaking,
backward.
yeah, and from a just a general house standpoint, you could argue, okay, 2,000 square feet, 2 transformers, 1,000 square feet, one transformer, right? But in general, it's less about the house and more about the property size. Because let's say here in California where I am, properties are pretty small. And
Yeah.
so lights actually go more so on the house than in the landscape. And that's one important thing to remember about, we call this landscape lighting, but it's really just outdoor lighting, because if you look at the property itself, the most expensive part on the whole property is the house. And so what does the homeowner really want lit? The house. And so just keep that in mind also when doing your designs and other things, is that you want to put a lot of lights on the house too, not just trees.
Yeah. Excellent.
And, just a basic rule of thumb, not so much on the voltage drop side, but typically on a Luxor 300-watt system, everything colored fixtures, I wouldn't go more than 25 to 28 fixtures on that system. Otherwise, you're going to run into voltage drop issues. And once you get into those voltage drop issues, you start to lose communication. So you may tell a specific fixture to turn on to a specific color, not enough juice to get it to that fixture. So you'll start to see some weird stuff. So.
Yeah, so one of the other questions in here is about wiring as well. How many 2-wire runs can it handle? Ryan answered that it's really only limited to the 300-watt and standard voltage drop as limiting factors. Me, from personal experience, and I coming from a little bit of the integration background, what if I'm one of these crazy guys that wants to actually home run everything, right? Like I've got maybe a group for this tree, a group for that tree. I've got a group around the house that how are there any maybe suggestion? Well, one, do you suggest not to do that? And number two, if you do, I know in my Luxor in the controller, it's difficult to fit all those 12 2 wires into the terminals that are there, even though there's 2 terminals or 2 sets of terminals. Any suggestions there? If someone has either that many lights or is just of that mindset, they want to home run every group.
Kyle, you want to talk to that?
Well, that is the beauty of the Luxor system, is that you can have different groups on the same wire. So in the old days, like James mentioned earlier, you would have to run separate home runs if you want to control things separately. With Luxor, I can have one wire and up to maybe 20 fixtures if it's path lights, and I can have a different group for each single fixture if I want. So there's really no need to do that. So I would say no, don't do that. And if you feel you have to run a home run for every group, then you're probably going to need some satellites.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the beauty of this system.
Yeah,
nobody else can do this.
Yeah, it was pretty cool when I was installing. I mean, I'm the typical guy who needs the installation manual or any of that stuff. I'll look up the manuals and stuff here and there when I start hitting. But that was something that was really cool, is that, yeah, I programmed everything at the controller, and I'm like, oh, I want to group this, and it's on the same line, and I'm changing colors on this group and that group. It's all on the same home run, right? I just kind of daisy chain everything. It's really, really cool stuff. So moving on, yeah. So this is a good question. I'm sorry. Does it have to be set up on the app, or can it be done on a PC? And the answer to that is on the app or the controller unit itself. There's no PC integration right now. I don't think there's really a whole lot more to add to that one. That's pretty straightforward. Is the Cat5 link between primary and secondary transformers Ethernet or a bus? And Ryan did respond that the Cat5/6 cable is used for simplicity, but does not use standard network communication. Therefore, you can use switches or other networking devices in between a Luxor or a satellite.
You cannot use.
Oh, cannot. Sorry.
Cannot.
It's like, well, I'm going to be getting a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, well, there was a long answer. All right.
All
Oh,
right.
there you
So,
go.
so just a quick,
Yeah.
just a quick elaboration. Yeah, we are using networking cables. It makes it easy for everybody to have stuff that's in your truck and ready to go. But you cannot, it's not designed to be network communication. So you're not using switches or routers or anything in between. It's a one single wire to the satellite, however many feet that needs to be.
Okay. So I know we've seen a couple questions on other control systems. Obviously, we list out Control 4. You also showed Crestron and Elan. How about RTI? I think I saw a question in there about AMX. Do you guys have anything in the works for those as far as drivers, or do you have protocols? I don't think we have those listed on the website, but do you have like a protocol documentation that we could post where if you don't have an existing driver that someone can create one?
The only other company that I've been in contact with is RTI, so we've done a little bit of work with them. We do have protocols. Typically, we would have an NDA associated with that. So if there is someone that would like to see the protocols, they can request it from you, and you can send that to me, and we can get that process started.
Yeah, that'd be great. And completely understand on that. So if there is a need for that, anybody on the call, yeah, just get in touch. I will put my email in the chat, and then you just reach out and we can get you in touch with the FX team and see if it's obviously worth your time and everything to do that. So that was one question. That was a newer question. Any marketing materials available or coming to SnapAV dealers? We'll have to review the website as to exactly what marketing materials we have on the website. But typically we like to, obviously put plenty on there. Actually, I'm scrolling right now to the website because I have a lot of the FX pages up just as reference. And we do have. There's some spec sheets, CAD details, installation guides. I'm not sure. Obviously, I think you're looking more for actual marketing material. So Kyle and Ryan, if you guys got any cut sheets and things like that might be useful. I think what the spirit of this question is something that they can also share with an end consumer, right? That might describe a little bit like a one pager or something that they can share. If you have something like that, get it over. If you can get it over to me, and I'll be happily posting to the product pages.
Yeah, we have all that stuff. What I can do, Andy, is go through what you carry and then send all the downloadable spec sheets.
Okay.
You can get all that on my list on our website.
Yeah.
As well.
I think we do have the spec sheets. I think more of like say any additional. If that's all you have, that's fine. I'm just
no, we have them.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Good. So we got that. Let's see. There's more questions coming in, so I'm trying to keep up here. So what happened in your discussions with RTI? I think James it sounds like that's just in progress and maybe moving a little bit slower.
It just got to a time and resource situation on both sides. But if someone on the call can help out with that and would like to move it forward, then I'm definitely open and happy to do that.
I think that's a good point for any of those control systems that don't currently have a driver. Probably the best way, especially RTI, since you've already been in communication with them, if they hear from you as an RTI dealer and you install their control and automation platform frequently, you reaching out to them saying, hey, I really want a driver for FX, will just encourage them to reach back out to James or the FX team to continue those discussions and get a driver created. All right, so here's a question from Josh. Will the color variation on the fixtures themselves be available through Snap? Currently, it only shows one color available while there are roughly 12 on the FX site. Well, I think I'll take a stab at that question, and maybe Kyle or others can jump in. FX has, I lost count, like what, I don't know, 6,000 to 7,000 SKUs. It's an ungodly amount of SKUs that they have, which is great, but it's just not feasible for us to carry all those. So when we worked the relationship initially, we said that we'd get started with really the high running SKUs that they see installed the most and the color, right? If we continually get, similar to just what I just said about RTI, if we continually get requests for a different color, then we'll certainly look at adding that on and adding that into the portfolio and inventorying that product in the future, right? So, if there are those requests and you're installing a lot of those jobs, or you have a massive job that may require those, shoot me an email, let me know, and we can certainly explore. I can't say that we'd immediately add something, but we will certainly take it under consideration. All right. This other question: when will more lights be available on the Snap website? It'd be great. Again, please shoot me an email and let me know what you're looking for. That way, again, I can kind of keep track of what additional SKUs people are looking for, and additional colors. It might be different, in our industry versus, the hardscape industry, or other people that also install FX. There's plenty of questions. I think that's a lot of them. If there's any other questions, drop it in the chat or the Q&A. I'm just quickly scrolling through. Ryan, do you remember? I know you answered a lot of them. Were there any ones that you thought were really good questions that might be applicable to the larger group, that would be good to cover now?
I think Brent asked an interesting question. He said he was under the impression that these products communicated via Z-Wave. But what he heard is that we're not using Z-Wave or wireless at all. It's all hardline communication, and that is accurate. And that's the beauty of the system. We're not using any wireless signals at all outside, because outside things get a little bit messy from a signal standpoint. And so everything is communicated from the Luxor itself through the standard 12.2 or 10.2 or 8.2 or whatever we talked about today, wires themselves. And so you get very consistent communication. And as long as you can get solid, Wi-Fi or LAN communication to the Luxor, you're golden from a communication standpoint.
Yeah, awesome. Looks like we did get a couple more questions in. While I'm pulling those up, quick shout out to Chris. Yes, it's good to. Well, I can't really see you. You can obviously see me. I can't see you, but thank you for joining the webinar. It's good to have you guys on. He's one of the local integrators here in the Charlotte area. A great company, Coda, I believe, and great guys. I'd like to connect with someone about becoming a dealer and installing a system to either upgrade or replace an existing exterior lighting system from another manufacturer. Can you please provide contact info for me to contact? I think that might be better for the FX team. You guys probably know the competition better and what's existing. I don't know if you guys are okay with it to drop your email. I don't know, Kyle, if that would be you to put your email in. So that was from an anonymous attendee, but that might be helpful for those people that, or you can email me and I can forward it on to the team. But either way, we can get you some information.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there any special pricing for dealers to demo the product? This is, I guess we should have probably anticipated this question. Currently, we don't have any type of demo program with FX. Again, at Snap, we generally like to see how a product performs, and what kind of requests we get for demo systems. If you're, I think it was from Mark, shoot me an email and let me know what you're looking at and considering, and we might be able to work something out for you. We obviously want to get this out, and we want people to have it in their hands and demo, but we also want to make sure that it's going to provide value for both you and obviously the FX business and our business, that we're not just putting demo kits out all over the place and they're going to collect dust in the corner in someone's warehouse. So, but yeah, reach out, Mark, and we'll see if we can put anything together for you and help you out.
Hey, Eddie, there's one question or a handful of questions about training in general. So like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot to, landscape lighting and architectural lighting is very simplistic in nature, right? You stick the light in the ground and you wire it up and you're good to go. But that question of where do I start and how many lights per trees and all those questions are are questions you start asking once you start doing your first job. And we've got a great program, lots of videos on the SnapAV website, lots as well on the FX website as well, to kind of walk you through that scenario. We even have a design training certificate program as well, just to help you get started. And believe it or not, I mean, you just watching one or two of these videos will open your eyes and show you, number one, what things could look like, and number two, how easy it can be.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kyle.
I might add, we have 80 factory salespeople on the street for Hunter FX, and probably over 40 of those are lighting specific. So if you have any questions or you need help designing a job, our local salespeople are more than willing to come out and help you. And Andy, you could probably forward that on to anybody who asks for it.
Yeah, I think one thing that we'll certainly consider, and it sounds like there is plenty of interest in it. We had already talked about maybe doing a follow-up webinar that was specifically geared towards design, to help the team out, or help our partners out. I think the other thing, once this craziness in the world kind of eases up, we have obviously our brick and mortar locations where I think it would be great to have more like hands-on training and like have a FX Luminaire day at a specific location, like our Charlotte storefront or Scottsdale, or and any of the newer ones coming, or any of the existing ones. So we'll certainly consider that, and that might be a great opportunity. But in the meantime, I think we've got enough. It seems like we've got plenty of interest to do a follow-up webinar for actually system design and lighting design.
There was one question that might be easier to respond to rather than type, but they said, can you mix and match between ZD and ZDC on a single zone? So you can absolutely mix and match on between ZD and ZDC on a property for sure. Okay, you always want to assign them to different group numbers. Now those fixtures can be sitting right next to each other. They can be tied to the same line, right? Because we have single wire communication, right? But you do want to put them on different group numbers because you're sending different signals between a ZD fixture and a ZDC fixture.
Excellent. That's great. That's good to know. I didn't realize that, but great question, good answer. I think we kind of answered this question a little bit, but we'll go over it again. This is from Brent. Any FX Luminaire installer certification or just being a Snap dealer is enough? So I think the system is, and I'll answer it kind of in two ways. The system is intuitive enough where you don't have to have certification, but I think the certification and what was just mentioned, and the lighting design and stuff, that is all very valuable. So that you can maximize your profitability and really create great systems for your end consumers and get more word of mouth and more of your customers requesting the landscape lighting and then outdoor lighting for their properties and their houses. Anything to add there? I mean, as far as certification, again, always a good thing in my mind.
Yeah, from an internal standpoint, we do have two certification programs. One's a Luxor's training program. And then a lighting designer program. And recently we have we'll call it a lower level technician program, which is the basics and fundamentals of not only low voltage lighting, but FX Luminaire too. So we really have three of those certificate programs that are all easily accessible from the website. All you have to do is create a login. It's free to do. I'd say very simple to accomplish as well.
And just for reference, if I remember correctly, the website is www.fxl.com. Is that correct?
That's
Great.
correct.
Yep, it's very easy. Just do FXL. It's right in front of my face too on the splash screen here. So right there, everybody at fxl.com. Go there, and again, not just the certification, but I think Ryan was talking about, they've got some really great videos. And I mentioned before, you kind of I was one of those people that toss out the manuals, or just ignore them. And I couldn't find them in the mess. So I just went to the website and started looking at videos, and Ryan does a great job in the videos. He's a star. He's a star in the FX world. So, all right. I think we're close to time. We just had another question pop into, are the product range available in 220 to 240 volts?
James?
The fixtures, or is
the
it
transformer.
talking about the transformer?
It doesn't specify, but
So the transformer is available in 230. The fixtures, Ryan can talk about that, but there is a line voltage product line that is for FX, but it does not have the built-in Luxor technology outside of using the Luxor Cube.
Mhm. Yes, it also just depends on the reason we're asking. So 220, 240 commonly is asked for outside of North America. In those cases, we do have options for you from CE approvals and other things, both fixtures and the controllers. But that's something you probably want to check with us first on, more than anything else.
and we'll have this as the last question before we wrap up. I really appreciate all the engagement from all of our dealers. This has been great. This has been probably one of the best webinars I've been a part of with the amount of engagement. So from our dealers, so it's fabulous. And this is from Frederick. He said one of his installs as far as this lighting fixture is at 250 feet. Does this limit how many lights can be on this 12-2 cable?
It does. It goes back to what I said earlier, 100 watts, 100 feet, you get a 3-volt drop. So if you do the math backwards or forwards, 250 feet, just doing quick math, it's probably 30, 35 watts. You go 250 feet.
There you go. All right.
I saw another question, Andy, about a design service. We really don't have a design service that you can send in a CAD drawing or a drawing and have us design it for you. But as I mentioned, we do have 50 to 80 people on the street that's all they do all day long is help contractors design jobs. So if you reach out to one of your local support team, they'll be more than happy to help you with any design.
Yep, and you can certainly reach out to the Snap sales team. They've got all the contacts, the regional contacts, and the right people at the FX team, and they can send your design onto them and help you out with that. So that's great. So, well, I really appreciate everyone joining. We're right up against the hour. This has been fantastic. Again, really enjoyed the conversation, the presentation. We're looking for great things with FX. It's an incredible product line. Thank you, Kyle, Ryan, and James for joining as well, and for all the knowledge you've shared with us. Just for everybody, there will be a quick survey, as always, once the webinar ends. We'd love to get your feedback on it. Additionally, you have email contacts if you have any further questions or something we may not have answered. I think mine and Kyle's are in there. Please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to help you out and get more engaged with FX. Again, great product line, love living with it, and just really excited to have them on board. So with that, thank you everybody for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.